sharing time with Deputy Mick Berry and Deputy Boyd-Barret in the other order. Deputy Boyd-Barret and then Mick Berry. I want to start by thanking the Business Committee for allowing this debate, and with a certain irony that the people to my left, Fianna Fáil, voted against having this debate earlier in the week. I'm glad that some of them, at least, are being positive about what we're trying to do here, which is to expose the absolute horrors of the government signing off without proper understanding or knowledge of both the deputies, the senators, the TDs, and I believe the Climate Advisory Council themselves, made up, mark you, mostly of economists. There's very few scientists on it, and there isn't a single climate scientist on that council. So we have a problem from the get-go if that's who the advice is coming from. I also want to thank the 30 Irish and US organisations who have written to the Taoiseach, including the actor Mark Ruffalo, the filmmaker Michael Moore, and the chief of the local Ramapo Native Indian nations, Dwayne Perry. They've written to the department, they've written to the Taoiseach, and I hope you listen to them. There shouldn't be any mystery or riddle as to whether Shannon LNG will be about fracked gas, but there appeared to be when the Taoiseach said it could be any kind of gas. Absolutely not. We know that New Fortress Energy, the company that owns the project, has explicitly said this. They told their shareholders, they told the potential investors, they told the Security and Exchange in America that it is fracked gas. And furthermore, the Pennsylvania EPA in its annual report tells us very clearly that the bulk of the gas from the state is from unconventional wells. There's a map. If the camera wants to focus in on it, the blue lines are fracked gas, the green lines are conventional gas. What is coming out of North America is fracked gas, and the company who are doing the deal for the LNG in Shannon make no bones about it. So why does the teacher try to obfuscate? For the same reason that you didn't want us to have this debate in the first place. The other non-issue I want to raise is about the idea that there's environmental vandalism in energy security. It's important that we understand this is a ruse to justify the Minister and the Department's continued reliance and support for fossil fuels. Shannon LNG or the Cork LNG and the reverse flow interconnector are not essential to our energy security. We have enough gas for the moment, and we have two interconnectors, not one, but two, to Britain and Europe. So LNGs are not essential to our energy security. They're essential to those forces who want to make profit from it, to the continued use of fossil fuels, oil, gas, and particularly fracked gas. The only avenue to ensure energy security after Corrib and Kinsale is the legislation you spoke about last night, to bring that before the House next week so that it will allow massive investment in renewable energies offshore. And imagine what we could do with Shannon as a hub for renewables. Imagine what we could do with the harbour in Cork as a hub for renewables. And when you talk about the wind, when it stops blowing, I doubt you'll have a single day when the wind will not blow off the west coast of Ireland. We can destroy the use of fossil fuel in this country if we go about it systemically, if we go about it with the will of the people. The last thing I want to mention is the context of this debate. The west of Ireland is hunkering down because of Lorenzo. We've seen extreme weather conditions continually all this year throughout the planet, and the CO2 and the methane that we're pumping out will ensure that for decades there's more rapid destruction. What needs to happen today is that we need a commitment from you that this project of common interest will not include the Shannon LNG until it's scrutinised next week and we go before the House to have a vote on it.
Right. Because of climate activists and because Bríd Smith and People Before Profit have badgered you to force this debate, that is the only reason that this is even being discussed. I want to say, now that we forced that debate on you, you should not put forward this liquid natural gas, fracked gas, terminal as a priority project to the European Commission. Tomorrow, you have no democratic right to do so. You have not told the truth to this House. As recently as yesterday, the Taoiseach misled the House, saying that it was not necessarily fracked gas that was going to come in through this terminal. Not true, as Bríd Smith has just outlined. The company who's going to bring in the gas through the terminal says it's overwhelmingly fracked gas. And unless the government is going to be guilty, which I believe it is, of being complete climate hypocrites, how can you possibly say that fracking is unacceptable in this country because it will poison our environment, because it will poison human health, but then say it's okay to poison the health and the environment of people in Pennsylvania? It's absolute rotten hypocrisy. And it's rotten hypocrisy in terms of your claimed commitment to want to deal with the climate emergency. If this terminal goes ahead, we will be locked in to importing fracked gas, which is the dirtiest of all of the fossil fuels, when you take into account the methane that it produces, which actually holds in heat and heats up the planet on a multiple of what CO2 does. It's more damaging. So we're saying, at the very least, the government should allow for a vote on this. It's absolutely outrageous that we would sign up for this big infrastructural project, tomorrow approve it, when you're not telling the truth about it, when this House hasn't discussed it, and when you're being absolute hypocrites in terms of the damage that this is going to do to the climate and to the people in the United States. And of course there is a huge opportunity cost to this when you say this is a transitionary fuel. If we allow hundreds of millions to be spent on building a terminal to bring in toxic fracked gas, that's hundreds of millions that is not being spent on developing the renewable energy we actually need to deal with the climate emergency.